Hello and welcome to Endemic Times. My name is Amira. The Taliban recently made it illegal to cultivate poppies in Afghanistan. Poppies are the most prominent crop in Afghanistan. What will this do to the economy moving forward? Let's take a look. As reported by the New York Times, the Taliban put out this notice. All compatriots are informed from the date of the issuance of this decree. Poppy cultivation is absolutely prohibited in the whole country, and no one can try to cultivate the plant. If someone violates this, his cultivation will be destroyed and the violator will be dealt with according to Islamic law. So why is this a big deal? Well, the biggest impact that this ban is going to have is on the economy of Afghanistan. This is a country that has been completely war-torn and decimated over the last 20 years during the post-9/11 war on terror, and this is going to have devastating consequences to the people and the country of Afghanistan. Afghanistan's opium production, which the United Nations estimated was worth $1.4 billion at its height in 2017, has increased in recent months. The country's dire economic situation has prompted residents of southeastern provinces to grow the illicit crop that could bring them faster and higher returns than legal crops such as wheat. But with the Afghan economy collapsing following the withdrawal of most international aid and much of the population at risk of starvation, experts fear that the Taliban's move to crack down at this time will do more harm than good. Small-scale poppy cultivation is an important source of income and income stability for many Afghan farmers. The ban on poppy cultivation will make their livelihoods all the more precarious. This is going to directly affect every single person in the country. Poppy cultivation in Afghanistan has been a serious issue for many years because it is considered an illicit crop and is part of the reason why we are having the opium addiction and narcotics abuse that we are seeing all over the West. From 2002 to 2021, the U.S. government spent almost $9 billion on counter-narcotics as it fought Taliban insurgents in Afghanistan. In 2018 and 2019, the Taliban earned about $400 million from the drug trade. The total value of Afghanistan's opium in the international markets has been estimated at several billion dollars. The Taliban ban, while immediately hurting farmers and laborers, will prompt a rise in opium and heroin prices. Around 80% of opium production is coming directly from Afghanistan. So this is going to have serious consequences for not just Afghanistan and the economy of that country, but to everyone involved. In 2021, revenues from the poppy fields made up to 11% of Afghanistan's GDP. Foreign development assistance, which accounted for 22% of the Afghan GDP in 2021, has been cut off since the Taliban returned to power. And this is also a big deal because of the crisis that's going on in Ukraine and so much humanitarian aid that's being sent directly to Ukraine, and it's no longer being able to be disseminated to other countries that are in the same, if not more, need than Ukraine. Over the past 8 months, Afghanistan has suffered a 34% decline in per capita income, and public spending has plummeted by about 60%. The poppy plant is extremely important for Afghanistan in a myriad of different ways. Why the Taliban is making this ban, especially at this time, begs a lot of questions. The total area under opium poppy cultivation in Afghanistan was estimated at 224,000 hectares in 2020, which represents an increase of 37% or 61,000 hectares when compared to 2019. In 2020, potential opium production in Afghanistan was estimated at 6,300 tons. The average opium yield was 28 kilograms per hectare. The farm gate value of opium production in 2020 was estimated at a US $350 million. In looking at this map here, you can see the change of the percentages for where poppy cultivation was taking place in Afghanistan. The strongest increase of over 30%, as you can see here, is growing all throughout the country. While this will affect the Afghan economy over time, this is directly affecting the farmers right now who would normally be cultivating the poppies at this time, and it's going to put them in a very precarious situation of having to decide whether they cultivate the plant or let their families starve. These are not good options that anyone should have to be contemplating. Jan is upset by the Taliban's decision this month to ban poppy cultivation. He says he will be unable to feed his wife and their 8 children if the Taliban prevents him from planting a poppy crop this fall. If they impose a harsh ban, it will be devastating for us. How will I feed my children? Jan says the Taliban should have issued their comprehensive ban only after providing tens of thousands of impoverished farmers like him with an alternative crop first. If the Taliban can provide us with an alternative, we will not need to plant this. And that's one of the biggest issues here. The poppy plant is the most prominent crop in Afghanistan because it's one of the easiest to grow and cultivate. With the Taliban putting this ban in place, it's directly affecting their own people. It's going to result in them having to make very difficult decisions moving forward. The Taliban has not provided any alternatives and is likely going to see a lot of kickback for making this decision. Asadullah says poppies require little water and care, typically bring in twice the money they can get from wheat or other cash crops. We are very disappointed with this ban. The Taliban should either help us to find an alternative or get us aid. Thomas Ruddig says most farmers grow poppies to stay out of poverty. This ban might push them back into poverty, which might have consequences. The Taliban implemented a similar ban in late 2000, which reduced raw opium production from more than 6,000 metric tons to under 100 in 2001. And the Taliban ultimately had to come back from that ban in 2001 because it was so directly affecting the people of Afghanistan. So maybe they will change their minds and lift this ban, but we shall see. The amount of opium previously sold for 20,000 Afghanis last year is now being sold for more than 100,000 Afghanis. Azmatullah, another farmer in Pajmul, says time is running out for the Taliban to pay attention to the plight of Afghan farmers. Before they enforce the ban ahead of the next crop, they need to find an alternative crop. Wheat, corn, vegetables, and other cash crops are not a viable alternative to poppies because they need irrigation and are labor and time intensive. Opium has done more to reduce income poverty and assure food security than anything else on offer. The growth of the opium economy has had important multiplier effects on the rural economy, creating access to land and employment both on and off farms. There is no other crop that could have done this. It could be argued that opium has arrested a historical trajectory, that is, it has kept people in the rural economy. Unfortunately, whether people like it or not, opium cultivation in Afghanistan is what brings in money and stability for these farmers and their families. While Afghanistan might have a prominent rural economy, it's what is keeping people afloat at this time. Without any alternatives, what are these people left to do? What have been the consequences where opium has declined? Collapse in the rural economy, a decline in food security, and immigration to Iran or into employment in the army or police. These shouldn't be the only options available to people. The distortionary effects of the size of the U.S. counter-narcotics budget and its emphasis on eradication have undermined the government of Afghanistan's counter-narcotics strategy, which has placed greater emphasis on reducing the opium crop area as an outcome of other counter-narcotics measures than on an eradication as the means to bring about an end to the opium economy. So what this means here is that rather than focusing on the West and their addiction to opium, they're just trying to throw money at the problem within Afghanistan, which is bringing, unfortunately, a lot more stability to the people of Afghanistan than anything else at this point. If the West really did care about the Afghan people and helping their economy lift itself out of this illicit crop cultivation, it would also work hand in hand at reducing the opioid addiction that has taken over the West. The effect of U.S. funding has been to locate the effort on eradication at the bottom of the opium poppy value chain, where 90% of the actors are to be found. The effects have been poverty and conflict-inducing as poor people turn to the insurgents for help. There needs to be a greater effort to craft a strategy based on a much more open-minded, informed, and strategic engagement with the present conditions in Afghanistan and the opportunities they offer. The people of Afghanistan are not necessarily cultivating poppies because they want to. It's a last resort option. When you have nothing else that you can do to feed your families, you're going to do the best that you can with what you have available to you. With the Taliban having this ban on poppy cultivation, it is going to have very devastating consequences on an already impoverished and war-stricken country. The West, and especially the U.S., needs to do everything that they possibly can in order to look at the opioid crisis in its face and really look at what we can do to minimize the serious effects that that addiction is having on people of the West. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for more videos that I have coming out soon. Just remember, we're all human, we're all on a unique journey, and the best way for us to move forward positively is to have these kinds of conversations, as difficult as they may be. Stay safe, take care, and remember to be kind to each other.